The Pacifier was released in 2005 and was directed by Adam Shankman. It tells the story of Shane, a Navy SEAL who one day is recruited to protect a family.
Ages ago, someone was actually wondering if I could review it for them, and I said, "Oh yeah, I remember the Pacifier," and I never got around to it, but I found out it was on TV yesterday, so I decided to rewatch it on the telly. I have to say, I'm actually quite nostalgic about the Pacifier film. My family and I, we watched it a lot when we were kids. We quite enjoyed it. The last time I saw it was around March 2016. But I actually used to think it was a very good film. My family used to love it. So on rewatch, does it still hold up for me? I know it has, like, I know there's a bit of a negative attitude towards it, but for me personally, I will say on my rewatch, I do think it is very flawed, but I still think it is a decent, enjoyable film. The storyline for me is, it's not that great. Yeah, it does definitely suffer. A pretty poor story. It's definitely got a very, very weak story. The plot definitely needs, it could use a little more work. I think the problem is that the plot is very, very cheesy. It's very, very corny. The idea, I think, of a spy having, it's not really a spy, but like, he has to take care of like of a family. It's just the execution of it, it does appear very, very cheesy. It can be very, very corny. Some of these cheesy moments can be actually really funny, and then some of them are just cringy and just really, really dumb. But it's not to say it's a bad story. It's just, it's very corny. It is a very corny plotline. I think the problem is that some of the cheese, I think it's trying way too hard to be, like, it's trying too hard to be funny, and it does fail. So the humor is definitely a mixed bag. Some of the humor is pretty funny, and then some of it just doesn't work. But it's not a bad plot. Like, it does have a good heart. It definitely does have its heart. Like I said, there are some genuinely funny moments, and it is a, it is a good movie, but I just think the story definitely needed a lot more work. It definitely needed more tweaking, and it needed, I think when it was being cheesy, it needed to, I don't know the right word, but it needed to tone down a little, because sometimes it was pretty over the top. When it comes to the acting, it's not that great either. Yeah, it's not that it's bad, but it was very hard for me to tell if the cast were enjoying acting in the film. So it made the acting not wooden, but just pretty weak, pretty poor. It's not horrible acting, but it's just, it could have been better if the cast, I didn't feel, enjoyment. I didn't feel like the cast were enjoying themselves in the film. Like, it didn't feel like that. I think the cast needed, I think it was just kind of obvious to me that it kind of seemed to me they didn't want to be there. So I just think, they could have maybe done a bit better. But yeah, nah. And as for the action scenes, well, it has some action. The action scenes are pretty fine. I do like how the two plot lines, if you've seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it, but I like how they all tie in together in the end. I will give that credit. But yeah, no, it's just the story, like I said, needed more work. And as for the characters, well,
The main character Shane is entertaining and does bring in a lot of heart of the film. Everyone else, though, isn't really that great. They're not awful, and the kids do have time to shine, but the other characters in the film just ain't really all that memorable or interesting.
and the music is actually pretty good. The music is pretty good. So The Pacifier definitely isn't a bad movie, but it does have some flaws.
Overall, The Pacifier may be flawed by suffering a very cheesy story. It does have enough entertainment value in it. It may not be great, but it is at least worth a watch. I'm going to give The Pacifier a 7 out of 10.
So yeah, it may be nostalgic for me and my family, but I do have flaws with it, but I still like it enough for what it is. I think it's pretty good. So, stay tuned for the next review until whatever that will be. But until then, guys, skadoosh everyone and take care.